Thank you for joining us today. We will get started in about a minute. We have some more people that are joining the webinar. So just give us one more minute. As soon as we have everyone admitted to the webinar, we will go ahead and get started. But thank you so much again for joining us. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Good morning. My name is Daniel Karoma. I'm the Business Liaison Officer here in Montgomery County. I've always been joined by my colleague, Rich Simple, who's the Economic Development Manager from the Department of Finance. We thank you so much for joining us for the Montgomery County Public Health Emergency Grant Program webinar. So we will give you a high level overview of the program for those who if this is your first time attending these webinars. And then from there, Ruth will give us an update in terms of what has been happening, since the application goes live, and also throughout last week, and also this week in terms of the numbers of application we've received. And then from there, we will open it up for question and answers. We want to make sure we answer as many of your questions as possible. So if you do have any specific questions, please go to the chat box and type in your questions, because as soon as we've done with the updates, Ruth and I will take turns and then go and read the questions. If we have time after we've read all of the questions on the chat box, if we have time, those who have not asked any questions, we'll tell you to unmute your mic, and then you will go ahead and ask your questions. But that again will be at the end. So if you do have a question that you want an answer to immediately, please go to the chat box and type in questions as we go along. With that being said, we're here. This is again a public website that we're using. So this is the link to the site right here. If you haven't been to this site, please go to the site. All of our updates are available at the site. And not only that, but also this is the site where you need to go to apply. If you go all the way down, that's where the application button is. I'm going to scroll all the way down so that you see that. So after you've gone through eligibility in terms of documents required, you will come to number 3, and that's to apply. This takes you to the application form. The application is up and running. Always been up and running. We had some minor glitches, but glitches in terms of like application numbers and things like that, but those have been fixed. And those who did not get the application number, we've told them to email us to this email address right here, the bizinfo covid19@montgomerycountymd.gov. And so we've been able to give those folks their application number. Please save your application number, because when you're contacted by us, we will reference your application number. So with that being said, we're talking about a $20 million grant that was set up by the county government to help both our nonprofit and for-profit businesses. Other folks who are eligible are sole proprietors or independent contractors. They're also eligible to apply. Again, part of the criteria is that you have to demonstrate to us that you've incurred a significant loss in revenues, and that significant loss is 50% or greater in revenues in the month of March. Why the month of March? That's the month that the governor declared issued the executive order, the stay-at-home order, and as a result of that, there are many of you who are on the line right now who incurred a significant loss in revenues, 50% or greater loss in revenues. Your principal place of business has to be here in Montgomery County, or 50% of your employees working in Montgomery County, or 50% or more than 50% of your gross business sales are in Montgomery County. The program was set up for nonprofit and for-profit businesses that have 100 or fewer employees. And then again, as I stated earlier, you have to incur a 50% or greater loss in revenues in the month of March. With that being said, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ruth, please take it away.
Good morning. Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ruth Semple. I'm with the Montgomery County Department of Finance. And I have been working all weekend on reviewing applications with my colleagues. And I can tell you that this morning we have approximately we have a little over 5,000 applications. About 1,000 of them are under review at the moment, and we have 433 that have already been reviewed and are in the next step. Either they're starting to be funded, or they are going to be declined. They have been reviewed. We finished with them. They're off to the next step. So we're starting to plow through them. Our team worked hard all weekend. We're going to work hard every day this week and next weekend, whatever we need to do. I know that the county is going to review the first 1,000 applications and then sort of take a pause and see where we are, and maybe make some adjustments. So we're almost halfway there, which I think will be good. I can tell you, as a reviewer, I thank everybody for all the work they've put into putting together their applications and the supporting documentation. To those of you who put in very clear, good documentation, thank you very much, because those are very fast. So I would also encourage you, as Daniel said, we're really looking at, we're going to look at historical financial information and calculate some monthly averages. We're going to make some adjustments, and we're going to compare that to your month of March. So when you submit your 2020 information, if you could focus just on the month of March. Some people have been sending in financial information that's for like the whole quarter. And when I see that, it causes me to slow down. I go back to that applicant and I ask them just to send in information for March. So please just send us what you have for March, your profit and loss. Or if you're not preparing financial statements, you can send us your March bank statement or your March sales and use tax certificate that you filed. But March is the month that we're looking at. We are not at this point looking at future losses. We know they are coming. We know people are worried about them. We're concerned about them too. We know there's a lot of losses coming, but the program that we have now that's been established only allows us to look at demonstrated losses through the month of March. So to date, so not necessarily the future losses, but we know they're coming. We also know that this week County Council is looking at appropriating an additional $5 million for this program. So you can stay tuned to the council website, and you can participate even in the public portion and give them your feedback. So there may be some changes coming this week to the program. So stay tuned. Okay.
All right.
Should I mention anything else, Daniel? Is that
yeah? So the provision in the legislation for restaurants and retail stores.
Yes, when the law was passed by council, the law requires that 20% of the funds, or a minimum of 20% of the funds, could be more, we'll see, go to retail and restaurant businesses in the county. So we're tracking that and watching those numbers.
Exactly. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and go right into the Q&A session. All right. Let me pull this up. All right. The first question in is, must applicants have a social security number? Susan, if you are a sole proprietor, absolutely. That's most likely you're using your social security number to not only file your taxes, but also when you are submitting, in your bank statements, again, it will not be in your bank statement, but when you open up your bank account. Do you need to submit your social security number personally? No, but on your taxes, your social security number will be there. However, as a sole proprietor, we're not asking for your entire taxes. We're only asking for the Schedule C within your personal taxes. So to answer your question again, you don't have to provide us your social security number. However, when you are applying in terms of the business information, I believe on the application, they may ask you for Ruth, does it ask for your employee identification number? No,
It does. It
does.
asks for the EIN, and social security numbers and EINs are all over the documents. I would just let folks know that people like myself that are actually reviewing the documents, we've all been through, we are all employees of the county in finance that have been through some background checks, and employees in our staff go through some additional background checks to help make sure that we're all okay and safe and honest and whatnot. So we're keeping it controlled and to staff that have the appropriate clearances. Susan, if that doesn't answer your question, send us a note and we'll come back to it. Yep. Somebody asked, is there a minimum income to apply? The answer is no.
All right. Okay. So the next question is the question on the application, how your payroll expenses have reduced since January 31st, 2020. Does this apply to sole proprietors paying themselves from net earnings? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Ruth, if you want to take it.
I would say no. What we're looking for here is the impact of employment to the business of your employees. So if you have 5 employees and you have to lay them all off, what's the net reduction of your payroll expense? So for sole proprietors, this would not apply to you. Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to know how much of the 20 million is still available. There's still a lot there. I don't know the exact number. I think probably some of the first payments could be going out this week, I suspect, but I think it's just starting to roll out. So there's still plenty of funds.
So Ruth, can I just add quickly that if you have received a grant letter from the county, please make sure you sign that letter and send it back to the email address because in the letter, that's right. So send it back because the money will not go out without us receiving those grant letters. Do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's exactly right. Once we approve you, we send you a letter with a grant agreement letter. You sign it, you get it right back to us at the designated email that we've given you, and then we'll start walking you through the payment process.
That's correct.
Depending on whether you've done business with the county before, you may or may not be a registered vendor. If you are a registered vendor, the payment will go out very quickly. If you are not a registered vendor, we're going to walk you through that step to get you registered and then get a payment to you. The payment will arrive in your bank account by an ACH payment, which is an electronic payment. To get through the vendor registration process all by itself is about 24 to 36 hours, assuming everybody gets back and forth appropriately. So it doesn't take too long. It's not hard. It's just a couple of extra steps for those who are not currently a registered vendor of the county.
Yeah. Someone wants to confirm that Ruth, you're only asking for the 2020 financials. You're only asking for either P&L for March or not January and February.
Right. So here's the thing. We are looking at March. March is the month of the public health emergency. So we're looking at your results in March. So if you send us a P&L for 2020 that has every single month on it, you've got January, you've got February, you've got March, and that's what you have in your hand, that's fine. Send it to us. We're only going to be looking at March.
But I just also want to, go ahead. No, I just wanted to add that many folks, they would go to like maybe the accountant and they will give them a combined P&L for the 3 months, and that is usually that's when the follow-up will come on to say, please.
Then we're going to come back to you and ask you for just March, because if you send us for the entire quarter and it's all a combined quarter, we have to calculate an average, and that doesn't usually work to your advantage if you've had a lot of losses in March.
That's correct.
Okay, so someone wants to know how many have been submitted and approved. I think I said that, but I'll say it again. Roughly about 5,300 applications have been submitted. Oh gosh, I didn't write. I got a bunch of numbers here. I didn't say which ones were approved. How many were approved? Under 200 so far.
The second one.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is, we heard last week that you needed financial statements for all of 2020. Yes, I know on the website there was a indication of providing like under the additional information. You're right, Marilyn, but what, as we just stated, what we're realizing is that it's not giving us the true number for March if you have it combined for the entire quarter. So it's really at the advantage of the business or the nonprofits if they only provide the P&L or bank statement for the month of March.
For March, right.
All those who, just want to make sure I clarify, those who submitted the 3 months, reviewers have gone back to them and said, please provide just the month of March. So no one will be, will be, no one would not benefit from from this new information that we've been giving out now, which is just say, send us the month of March only. All those who applied with the quarterly P&Ls, reviewers like Ruth have actually reached out to them and say, please just give us the month of March. Is that right, Ruth?
That's correct.
All right, there's a next question is that's Lenny says she wants to say thank you, Ruth, and to I don't know if she heard from you or not, but she says for me to say thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Go ahead. The next one is, how is the grant amount calculated for a sole proprietor?
Mm-hmm.
So for Christine, this is for all applicants, regardless if you are a for-profit or non-profit business, as Ruth stated earlier. So the 2 years of financial will give us, in terms of the average monthly revenues, the top line revenues for, it could be 2019, if you file your 2019 taxes, or 2018, if you definitely you have to submit your 2018 taxes. If you haven't filed your 2019 taxes, you provide 2017 and 2018. Again, when you combine those and divide them by the month, it gives us the average, right? The average gross. Then when we look at the month of March, which could be a P&L, but for like a sole proprietor like you can submit your bank statement where we'll be able to see the revenues coming in March. Then we're able to know the decline or see the decline in revenues. That decline in revenues is 50% or greater. That's the eligibility criteria. And then based on that, we'll be able to determine how much money you've lost in the month of March. Okay. The next question is, where is the website? Okay, where in the website do we apply? All right, Jennifer, so I'm hoping you're at this, I just highlighted the web link right now. If you're at this website, what you need to do is scroll all the way down. Well, don't scroll all the way down right away, because we want to make sure you don't miss the information that's at the top. The information at the top talks about eligibility. How are you eligible for this program? And then number 2, we talk about the financials you need to submit, and that's what Ruth was just going over in terms of, if you need to provide 2 years of tax returns. If you're a nonprofit, provide your 990. And then for the calendar year 2020, again, just provide your profit and loss statement or bank account if you're a sole proprietor for a bank statement for the month of March. If you're a sole proprietor, a Schedule C, not your entire personal tax return, just the Schedule C. And then from there, in addition, again, we talk about interim financials. This is where I think many people were indicating in terms of, we said quarterly financials. No, don't submit quarterly financials if they're not breakdown monthly. Submit them if they're breakdown monthly. So if they're breakdown by January, February, March, because we will see what happened in February, and then we'll see the decline in revenue, the losses you incur in March. And then Jennifer, number 3 is where the application is, right here. If you click on this form, to apply, it takes you directly to, this is the application form live as I'm showing you right now. So I hope this explain your, answer your question. And then, as I say, just go follow, read all what needs to be read, get all the documentation, because you cannot save the application. So if you don't have all the documents or the financials for you to attach, you're not able to basically save the application and then come back to it. So please get all what you need. And so when you start applying, you just go right. And the average time right now, I mean, from what I'm getting, Ruth, people are saying is less than 25 minutes or so.
To fill out an application?
Yeah.
If you have all your documentation ready to go, we're hearing it's 15 minutes or less.
There you go. So Jennifer,
it's very quick if you're well prepared.
That is correct. And to emphasize Ruth's her statement earlier, the applications that are complete, the decision is so easy for them to make. Is that correct?
Right. Ruth? Right. I was providing some feedback last night to county executives, senior management, and I shared with them that if I got an application that was complete and clean, I could zip through that and do the math and make a recommendation and do the whole analysis in about 15, 20 minutes. It's not long. But I also, on the flip side of that, over the weekend, I spent collectively 2 hours on one application that was just bits and pieces and holes, and I had to go back and forth with the applicant and get it complete, which I was happy to do. You know, we are trying our best to get people approved, but it took a lot of time.
The next question is, do you only need 2019 or do you need 2018 too? So Van, we need 2 years of historical financial documents. So that'll be 2018, 2019. But if you haven't filed 2019 yet, then give us 2017 and 2018.
Okay.
And Christine says, Daniel, just to confirm, you just want the Schedule C, not the entire 1040 tax return. Christine, that is correct. Just the Schedule C. Now, we've also gotten some follow-up emails about, well, you said for the financials to be signed. We do know that the Schedule Cs are not signed, but please go ahead and send that to us.
Yeah, some people are sending us the Schedule C and then the signature page. Some people are sending us the entire tax return. We want you to send us what you can. Ideally, we'd like to have the Schedule Cs and some evidence that they were actually signed, like the signature page of the tax return that goes with the Schedule C.
All right, the next question is, a person who has an EIN but does not have a social security number can still apply? Susan, yeah, because the EIN is what's attached to the business. That's the business, identification number. So absolutely.
Right.
And
that's
remember,
essentially the social security number for the business.
Exactly. So again, we're talking about this. This program was set up to help our business and nonprofits, including sole proprietors, independent contractors. All right. Next question is, for financial statements 2020, can I just submit March 2020 bank statement? Van, yes. Depending on the size of your company, if you have 5 or fewer employees, yes, please just submit your bank statement for March. The next question is, if a company consists of multiple affiliates, would a major affiliate based in Montgomery County be eligible for the grant? Ruth, why don't you take this one? This is, I think, around also tag along some of the franchises as well.
Yes. So if a company is, so first of all, we're looking at distinct legal entities. So if you are a major affiliate, the question is going to be, do you have your own legal entity? Do you pay your own taxes? Think of it like a franchise. If you are an independently owned franchise, you own the McDonald's, then yes, you can apply as long as you have less than 100 employees. And the entity that the McDonald's that you're applying for is, like, say, one location in Rockville, that you could apply. If you are running, a McDonald's operation in Rockville that is owned by McDonald's corporate, that operation would not be able to apply. because all of the taxes and revenues run up into the parent company, and they can apply for assistance in their county or state, whatever they have. So you have to think about the legal structure of the affiliates. So I hope that answers that first question. The second one is that's related. If a business in Montgomery County is affiliate with larger companies not found on time, may the business provide financial statements in lieu of previous tax returns? Again, we're looking for legal entities that file their own taxes, whether it be a person using their social security number or whether it be a business using their EIN. Whoever is the tax-paying entity and files its tax returns, that is the entity that would actually apply. That would be the applicant for the grant, and that applicant needs to be based in Montgomery County. Last part here is, does the 100 full-time equivalent employee limit apply only to the subsidiary based in Montgomery County or to its parent company? Well, again, this is going to depend on the legal structure. If you are the independently owned McDonald's franchise and you have 20 employees, you meet the minimum of under 100 and you can apply. If you are running a McDonald's affiliate and it is owned by the McDonald's parent company, well, McDonald's as a parent company has way more than 100 employees, and you would not be able to apply.
That is correct.
Even though the McDonald's that you're particularly running might have its own financial statements, because of course it's reporting its financial results up to the parent company.
Yes,
so again, it's going to come back to the legal structure and which legal entity is actually the tax-paying entity. If that doesn't clear that up for you, send us a note and we'll try again. That was from Darlene. Okay.
All right. The next question is, can I only apply for the $2,500 for equipment used to telework if I'm not eligible for the main grant? Ola, the question to that is no. You have to be eligible for the main program itself, and then in addition to the main program limit, which is $75,000, because businesses and nonprofits can qualify for up to $75,000. Then in addition to that is they could also qualify for up to $2,500 for telework hardware or software.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take the next two there quick.
Sure.
Will we be informed if we are not granted funds? Yes, you will be informed. You will either get a communication from us that you've been approved and here's your grant agreement to sign, or you will get a communication from us that you've been declined, and the decline communication that will come to you in the form of a letter will tell you why, so that you'll know why. Another question on the application: do you have capital reserves for sole proprietors? Does this mean cash reserves in the business checking account? Does this mean emergency savings? It means however you would define that capital reserves for yourself. So you can choose how you answer that. It's what are the reserves that you consider you have on hand for your business.
Correct.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah, the next question is, we are a nonprofit headquartered in New York with offices across the US. Therefore, we do not have our own 990 financial statement. However, we do work from our own separate budget. If we're able to apply, what documentation can we submit instead of 990 or financial statement?
Uh-huh.
Mark, the answer to that question is that you will not be able to apply because if 50% of all the nonprofits employee are based here in Montgomery County, then again, that's one of the eligibility. But if they're not based here in Montgomery County, then obviously that will deem you ineligible. But you also said that the parent company is based in New York and the financials are also in New York. So which means that, again, they're not a taxpaying entity here in Montgomery County. And so that would not deem your nonprofit to be eligible. Ruth, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that's correct.
Okay. All right, the next question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, they submitted an application. They immediately got back a confirmation from us with a number for their application, and the number was 7,250. And the question is there a correlation between the application number and the number of applications? No, there's not necessarily. I wouldn't take that so literally.
And so let me also add quickly that that does not indicate your place in line for review either. Also, because the program is not a first come first serve, it doesn't deem that applicant number one eligible for funding. Again, the eligibility is what determines the granting of funds. And again, the eligibility criteria is a significant loss in revenue, which is 50% or greater, your principal place of business here in Montgomery County, or 50% or more of your employees here in the county, and you have 100 or fewer employees. So again, just because somebody has an application number of 7,000 doesn't mean that, oh, wow, by the time they get to this, the funds will be over with. Is that correct, Ruth?
Yes.
All right. All right, the next question is, my nonprofit was established less than a year ago. I do not have tax returns for 2019 year. What documentation can I submit?
Mm-hmm.
Ola, you can submit, definitely if you file, 501c3s don't file interim financials. So I'll say your P&L statement from when you establish, and then if you have 5 or fewer employees, submit the end statement for the month of March. Okay. Okay. Another question is, all right. What I submit the application. Oh, okay. This person is saying when I submitted my application, I made a mistake on the numbers. Is there a way I can correct them? Lainey, if the numbers, again, I don't know the numbers that you're talking about, but I know based on the questions I've received and the calls I've gotten, many folks have made mistakes with the percentages, the use of funds, that area where you have to put in what percentage are you going to use if you're granted the funds. I would say that's informational purposes. Don't make that a big deal. Even though we do need the information, but however, let's say if you thought that 60% of the funds were going to payroll, and now you've changed your mind that no, 80% should go to payroll. Don't worry about that, because once you are eligible and then you're granted the funds, in the back end, the reporting back end, that's where you basically indicate how you use the funds. There are no restrictions in the legislation on the use of funds in terms of once again it meets the criteria, in terms of operational expenses. Then we're not going to come after you. You told us 50% and now you use 80% of the funds for payroll. Is that correct, Ruth?
Yes.
Okay.
Good answer.
Thank you. All right. The next question is, many healthcare providers in the county, especially pediatricians, are struggling to stay open, and several have laid off all their staff or closed already. Are there any special profit and loss considerations given that their compensation is directly funded from health insurance companies and government funds, states and federal? So Marissa, basically, so your historic financial document, the tax, 2 years of taxes would establish that those revenues, and then when we divide those 2-year financials, we'll get the monthly averages for the establishment. And then when you provide the month of March P&L statement, then we're able to see the decline in revenues. Now, if those revenues are coming, regardless of where the source of revenues are, right, it will show in the in both the historic financials, but also the month of March. So I would say there's no special documentation you need to provide because you are a pediatrician or any health or any other industry. There's no you don't have to provide any other information to prove the loss.
Yeah.
But the historic document will show it. Go ahead, Ruth.
Yeah, I think part of the issue here for healthcare providers is that they get paid from insurance companies, which can take months to pay. That's very different from a restaurant who, is on pretty much on a cash basis. So it affects the cash flow. And yes, I've looked at a couple of healthcare provider applications. We don't have special provisions in there for healthcare providers. We are getting lots of feedback that there's a need for the future losses that people are seeing. So from the healthcare community and other industries that are on an accrual basis and take a while for the cash to come in, or even the nonprofit organizations that have had like their big fundraisers canceled in the summer. So future losses are a concern. If you joined me earlier, you joined us earlier, you might have known that we're already giving, the reviewers are already giving some feedback back to county management. And one of the things I put in mind was I felt like we ought to be prioritizing safety net and caregivers. But I don't know, maybe that'll come, we'll see. But I know it's very painful. But there is no special provision for healthcare providers at the moment.
The next question is real quick. Bank statements and other documents were given for the month of March, correct? That is correct, Jennifer. So again, just the month of March is what we're looking for 2020.
Right.
For 2020, but 2 years of financial documents in terms of tax returns. Again, if you haven't filed 2019, give us 2017 and 2018.
Right. So we need 2 years of tax returns, and then your March 2020.
There you go.
Your profit, will that affect your grant? Somebody wants to know, what if in 2018 you had losses, but 2019 you had profit? Will that affect your grant amount? It could, because we're going to be looking at averages. If you want to, you could send us 17. Well, the loss was in 18. Let's send a special note to the Biz Info COVID-19 for that one.
All right, so Van, if you can go, the email is down here. So please send an email to this email address and we will get you an answer.
Yeah, that might also roll into the Impact Assistance Fund for those very specific projects. I'm not sure. We'll need to look at that one.
Sounds good.
All right, next, is there a minimum and maximum grant amount? There's no minimum. The maximum that companies can be qualified for is $75,000. At the moment, we are making initial payments of $10,000 until we get through the first 1,000 applications. Someone asked, is there an appeal process set up if you are denied? I think we're working on that as we speak.
Yes, we are.
We don't have details for that right now, but stay tuned and come back to this website about that particular issue. We are expecting that to come down the pike.
Mm-hmm. All right, quickly, Lenny said, if a coffee shop is now selling business online, can they apply for the $2,500 Telework grant?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They have to meet the entire grant eligibility, but there's no reason why anybody couldn't qualify for. Everybody who's eligible for the grant is also eligible for the $2,500 teleworking piece. But you have to be eligible for the entire grant to then claim the to then apply for the $2,500 teleworking piece.
And what we'll need then is, if you've already bought the hardware or software equipment, please send the invoice. Or if you're looking to purchase it, just send the proposal.
A quote. We want a quote from a commercial provider.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay.
Is there an appeal? Okay, well, I think we answered that already. The next question is, what is the average grant a business might expect to receive?
I don't think we have an average number yet. I couldn't answer that one. I personally have processed some that were under $1,000 and a couple that were $10,000.
And what is the average turnaround time between the time an application is filed and a check is received.
Okay, so first of all, we're not issuing checks. We're
Yeah.
going to be issuing electronic payments. We don't yet have an average turnaround time, and the time that takes will depend upon a lot upon whether you're, how quickly we're able to get through your application. Is your application easy for us to get through, or do we have to go back and forth and clarify and get additional documents? And that takes time. And also, whether you are a registered vendor or not, that can add a few days. So we don't have enough experience to include all those factors and give you an average. But I'm sure that we will probably, as we go through this week, we'll be putting those numbers out for people to, digest.
Hey, Ruth, can we pause for a minute?
Sure.
Myra from LEDC has joined us, so she's going to ask if there are any, she's just going to introduce again the program and then see if there are questions in Spanish.
Right, but we only have 2 more questions. Can we finish those?
Okay, let's go ahead.
Let's finish those.
Mhm.
Someone wants to know, do you need documentation to back up the March P&L? No, we'll take your profit and loss statement as you submit it. If you can, it's really nice if you could sign it and date it, that it's true and accurate. That's very helpful.
Yep.
Last question, someone wants to know, they say, thank you, Daniel. For example, sole proprietor, the grant amount would potentially be it could be, yes. We have to work through the math. I don't want to go through individual situations right here in chat, Kristen, but that could be in theory, yes. Okay, so let's close up the chat. We're done there. Okay.
There you go. All right. So Myra, why don't you just quickly introduce yourself and let Spanish speakers who may be on the line know that you're from LEDC, and then you're one of the providers who are helping our businesses and nonprofits. You have if they need language help, but also if they want to apply, they can call LEDC as well. So go ahead and provide the contact information. Go ahead.
Sure, yes, of course. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Good morning. Buenos días a todos. Soy María y estoy aquí de parte del Centro Latino para el Desarrollo Económico, LEDC. Estamos aquí para proveerlos a todos que necesitan ayuda en español, ayuda y apoyo con la aplicación para el programa de asistencia del Condado de Montgomery County, PHEG. Ahorita están recibiendo aplicaciones. Las aplicaciones solamente se pueden completar en línea y son electrónicas. El subsidio es un programa de subsidio que pueden recibir hasta $75,000 de asistencia en ayuda y $2,500 en ayuda adicional para asistencia con necesidad de equipo técnico que necesitan para proveer este servicio. Si necesitan ayuda, se pueden comunicar con nosotros. Nos pueden llamar al 202-540-7414 y también nos pueden encontrar por la página web en el www.ledcmetro.org. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much for that. So quickly, just want to highlight some of the information because the county council and the county executive, want to make sure that we provide information in all, that would assist all our businesses and nonprofits in the county. So as a result of that, we have we've developed infographics. These flyers are available in Amharic, in English, in French, in Korean, in Mandarin, in Spanish, and Vietnamese. So if you're on this, if you're with us, businesses that may need help. Again, this is a public site. You can easily just send them here, or just download the flyer and send it to a business or nonprofit that may need to apply, that you think should need to apply for this program. We have the sample application here in English and in Spanish. The English version, it's really good because it allows you to see all the questions that are on the live form. And so if you download, or you just, if you click on it, it will show you again all the questions on the form. However, on the form, you can only complete the first page before going to the second page. So that's why the sample application is very helpful. We have FAQs that we have provided based on many of your inputs, especially our business resource partners, our chamber partners, our business and nonprofits groups. They've been very helpful from the beginning when we started this about 2 weeks ago in terms of engaging them and working with them on the application itself. And as a result of that, we provided some FAQs that are right here. I also want to highlight in terms of the webinars we have. So all our webinars, upcoming webinars, are right here. You can see that, for example, today at 11 o'clock, we have an Amharic session, which is going to be led by the Ethiopian American Chamber of Commerce. But again, it's open to everyone, but majority of the conversation will be in Amharic. We have a Spanish session also that's coming up at 11 o'clock. So all these other webinars are available. So if you know people who needs to join this webinar, or you can join this webinar as well. And if you want to basically hear the same information that we're providing right now. All right, with that being said, Ruth, let me turn it back to you. Do you have, is there, I think I saw.
I was just going to say, do we want to open up for any final questions? If you've got any final questions that have come up, you didn't get it in the chat box, go ahead and unmute yourself and we'll address your question. Sounds pretty quiet. Okay, anything left? I think we've done the chats, right, Daniel?
Yes,
I think we have. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. And thank you for sharing this information with many of the small businesses you may be interacting with in addition to yourselves. And thank you very much, and hang in there. We're going to do our best for you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And we want to give a shout out to Buzz 365 Media for providing this platform for us. They're a local small business here in Montgomery County, and they've done a phenomenal work with us to put this together. And so thank you, everyone, and please be safe out there. And with that being said, we will go ahead and end this session now.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Daniel with Buzz 365 Media. We do in-person and remote live stream video productions. If you are having technical difficulties setting up a virtual meeting, conference, or workshop, give me a call. Buzz 365 Media is here to help you.